Hello and welcome to the Pop Council Podcast, the show where we cover everything in pop culture. Today we will be discussing Zack Snyder's Justice League release, WandaVision Episode 4, COVID release date delays, new trailers, and more. Stay tuned. All right, so on this show, each week we will be discussing topics in the geek world, as well as various fandoms such as Disney, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, theme parks, and everything in between. I'm Jami, Philbrick, entertainment journalist and critic for We Live Entertainment, and member of the Hollywood Critics Association. And joining me today and every week is my co-host, Wendy Szany. Hi, Wendy.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Jami. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. I actually am sans coffee, which I don't know what happened there. Usually that's like I'm sitting down at the table, I'm about to talk geek stuff, need to have my coffee or matcha, and it's not here. So I kind of don't know, like I feel like I'm throwing myself off the groove a little bit here.
I had my coffee real early this morning, so you can see I'm all caffeine ready. I'm ready to go.
You share a little bit of that energy with me. Don't know what happened.
Stuff. And we're going to be talking geek stuff every week. Why don't you introduce yourself for the audience, the fans, and tell them a little bit about the HCA shows we're going to be doing.
Well, sure. As you know, as Jami said, I am Wendy Szany. You may have seen me on videos such as Collider, Nerdist News Talks Back, let's see, Geek Bomb, Sideshow Collectibles, many more. So essentially, overall, I'm just a big old geek who loves anything from Disney to Star Wars to Lord of the Rings to Dungeons and Dragons and everything in between. So I'm really excited to be on here to talk to you guys. I am also a part of the HCA as a member. So just really excited to kick this show off the road. Absolutely.
Well, what would be your number one fandom thing? Like, what is your all-time favorite geek? Like, if it had to be maybe a character, a franchise, a movie, comic book, whatever it is. What is it?
I'm going to cheat and I'm going to pick Disney because then I have the theme parks, right? I have all the Disney characters. I kind of get to have Pixar. I get Marvel and I get Disney. So I'm super cheating here, but you know, it kind of encompasses everything that I love. So
Disney is an overall umbrella.
Yeah.
So the Muppets and well, that's a pretty good. That's pretty good.
So it's totally a cheat, but if you wanted to kind of say pick a specific fandom, I would probably go like Disney animation strictly.
Okay.
Because I grew up with all of that stuff, from the hand-drawn animation, like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin.
Classic, not necessarily Pixar, or maybe Pixar, but more classic.
Exactly. But now, I take it all, like all the 3D animation. It's newer, it's updated, and I love it.
Yeah, totally. Well, you can probably tell by my backdrop here what my favorite character of all time is, the Green Arrow.
I see it.
And I'm a long time. I'm not one of those guys who just came on with the Stephen Amell show. I mean, I am a hardcore all the way back to the 70s, Longbow Hunter, and the geeks out there know what I'm talking about with the old school Green Arrow stuff. So, yeah, nice. I feel like I got in on Green Arrow early. Let's just jump into some of the topics we're going to be talking about this week. Late last week, there was the announcement finally of a release date for what is best known as the Snyder Cut, but I think official title is Zack Snyder's Justice League, March 18th on HBO Max. Obviously, everyone's really excited about it. This is really a historic thing in a way. For a filmmaker to leave a project, get to actually finish the project on HBO Max. Now it's going to be a 4-hour movie as opposed to a 4-episode sort of series. So I'll just open it up with this one. Like, what are you hoping for from it? What are you expecting? What do you think about sort of all the controversy, the long, windy road, as Paul McCartney once said, to get to where we're going to be on March 18th?
My goodness. I feel like, this is going to be such a treat for the fans, right? The fans kind of, in a way, made this happen. They asked for it, and look at where we are now. So we're going to get this really more fleshed out story with our Justice League. We're going to get to see some of the things that perhaps we didn't get to see. For me specifically, one, more Wonder Woman, and two, more Cyborg. And I really didn't know much about Cyborg when we went into Justice League. And now that we are going to get this huge, long 4-hour cut, based on the trailer, it seems like we're going to have some heartfelt moments with Cyborg, which is, that's above all else, is kind of something I really want to see. What about you?
Absolutely. Well, it's so interesting. I mean, I think that I am always for a filmmaker who's hired by a studio to be allowed to make the film that the studio hired them to make. And commonly we've seen in recent years that that's not always the case. So the fact that Zack gets to make essentially the movie he intended to make, there were some changes he had to make coming off of Batman vs. Superman. And so maybe it's not initially, but it's just going to be as close to his original vision as possible. So I think that's fantastic. I hope that the fans, they work so hard to get this. I hope they're satisfied with what they get. We know sometimes, fans can demand something and then still be unhappy with the final product. So, I just hope it brings closure to Zack and his wife Deborah and everyone who was involved with the original film, especially the cast. Obviously, we know, without going into it, we know about Ray Fisher and what he sort of went through with reshoots and everything. So I hope that everyone feels good about the final product. I think also the fact that some time went by. We know that sort of the adding Joker and Deathstroke to this is something they came up with post leaving the film. So I think it's nice that he's going to get that opportunity. And I just hope the fans are grateful for this and not sort of like, well, it's not enough of this and I didn't like that. And then like, you're not getting another Justice League. Like, this is it. This is going to be, and at least for some time, I mean, if this one doesn't do well, they're certainly not going to reboot another Justice League theatrically anytime soon. So, well, even if this is successful on HBO Max, we don't really know what that means. So we don't really know, if there would be a future for the Snyder DCEU world to exist in the future. But I'm super excited for it. I like the things that I've seen so far. What do you think about sort of adding, him being able to incorporate what he originally shot and use that? And we know he's not going to incorporate any Whedon stuff, and then having the opportunity to kind of, where do you think Joker and Deathstroke are going to fit in this?
I mean, I am so excited at the prospect of being able to see Darkseid from, I think there's been some like images teased. Looks fantastic. Also, Steppenwolf got a nice little upgrade, little facelift, if you will. Yep. So both of those are really exciting. I'm not exactly sure where I feel Joker is going to fit in, as well as I believe Deathstroke has also been teased. So I don't know where they're going to fit. I certainly hope it's not just a 1-2 scene and then we're done. If they're going to put these characters in, I want to see them in action doing not a little more, but a lot more. So there's a lot of that I'm looking forward to. There's the black suit that we had been teased ever since, I think, the Joss version of it, the theatrical cut, if you will. I don't really feel like we got that, but I feel like it's as a confirmed now that we are going to be getting it. So this is just going to be really exciting. I think the 4-hour runtime, this makes it not just a movie experience. It's going to be a whole event. Like, I'm already planning out my snacks. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I got my I don't know if you can see it, my Wonder Woman 1984 popcorn bucket. That's right there. So there's going to be popcorn refills. There's going to be snacks. There will be bathroom breaks. So it's going to be really fantastic. I'm really happy that they're not doing like, okay, 1 hour episode per week. And I decided that they decided to stitch it together so it feels like a whole event that we can celebrate the movie, we can celebrate the fans, we can celebrate Zack's vision.
Yeah, I mean, I would be okay with a 4-episode thing, but you have to release them all at once. I wouldn't want a week, like release them all once. So I have an interesting theory about where Joker and Deathstroke fit in this new movie.
Okay.
I think that Warner Brothers cut the nightmare scene. That there would be another Batman nightmare scene. I mean, we actually see in the trailer there is sort of a clip. It opens with the destroyed Hall of Justice and a sort of that nightmare scenario. And I think, this is all, I have no information to base this on other than my own gut. I think that Joker, I could see a world where if Superman's gone bad, Batman has to get allies wherever he can. And Deathstroke and Joker wouldn't be bad allies if you're fighting Superman. Yep. So okay. I wonder if there's gonna be more Nightmare. I'm pretty sure we can count on that, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they fit in. So that's just a theory I have.
Yeah, that's in the end. This whole thing is really starting to become quite the spectacle, and I think a lot of fans are really anticipating this. And I think it was on Zack Snyder's Twitter where he quoted and it said it was a quote from Martian Manhunter.
Yes.
So now, are we getting also Martian Manhunter in the film?
That's been rumored.
Yes, please.
I think he had confirmed that Henry Lennox, who played I forget what his.
Oh, that's right.
He was
Supergirl.
He was in Superman or in Man of Steel, and
Man of Steel. Sorry,
he was I don't know, a general or something. But he was like the army guy. Got a little scene with Lois in BVS, and I think that he had even confirmed that was always the idea. I think it was even confirmed before HBO Max confirmed they were picking this up. I think Zach had said that was always the idea, but I think Henry Lennox said that they had shot one part of that scene, but not maybe like the reverse where he transforms. So I think he may have reshot that. I would imagine it would just be like a green screen, one shot, you know what I mean? To then CGI it. So I think we can feel good about Martian Manhunter popping up. Green Lantern, I'm a little bit more suspect, although I'd love to see that. And we had heard rumors that he had talked about Kilowog and Tomar Ray being in an end credit scene. Whoa. The original. So, but there's also been rumors about different casting for Hal Jordan, and I don't think that ever really happened.
They got to keep something, in their pocket. They can't just show all of their hands. Well, I don't want to know everything either. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. No. Of course. Yeah. But also, like, if this is the final time Zack Snyder is going to get to do something in the DC EU, it's like let's throw everything at it. Let's get it all in. But it'll be interesting to see like how much new footage do you think is really going to be in film? Because this is 4 hours, and that's 2 hours more than the theatrical cut. But we know he's not using any shots that Whedon did, and I feel like Whedon reshot at least half of the theatrical movie.
Then we get 75% new footage.
Yeah, like could there be?
That'd be great.
Footage like left over? Like was that much reshot after he left? Do you think?
Who knows? Because we're not there on set, right? We can only think that maybe because they are two different directors, and even though they're trying to combine their vision together, I feel like the creativeness of the two are, in my opinion, quite different. So, and reshots are not anything new for any movie set. Reshots happen all the time. So I feel like these reshots that Zach have been doing are going to, round out the story for us a little bit more and give him an opportunity to give us that story. And I am very curious to actually see, I don't even know how to answer that question because I'm really curious to see how much new footage we're getting, which means how much of it was actually, so like we're going to be able to tell very soon. Like, do you remember how long the theatrical cut was?
I believe it was just at 2 hours, like 2 hours exactly.
Okay, so at the least 2 hours of new footage.
Right.
At the least, but I think we're going to get way more than that.
I think at least 2.5, I would say, because I got to imagine at least 30 minutes of the theatrical cut was reshots. I mean, we know that the Superman opening with the no mustache thing is reshot. We know Batman with
I forgot about that.
I'm going to tell you about all the stuff you blocked out of your mind from Whedon's Justice League. You got the Batman on the roof with the burglar. Holt McNally played the burglar. That was all Whedon. Anytime that Wonder Woman was second by Aquaman or Flash, those are Whedon reshoots.
Oh.
I feel like there's a lot more Whedon than was than we were told representing the theatrical cut. So it would be interesting to see. What about the theatrical cut bothered you the most?
It felt like it was like there were too many things cut out. Even though the movie is at 2 hours, it felt like it didn't feel complete to me. It felt like they were rushing to get to certain things, but when we got there, the delivery wasn't there for me. I didn't connect with it. Did I have fun watching it? Sure. It's Justice League. I love Wonder Woman. She's in it. So I was, cheering her on for sure. And who doesn't love watching Jason Momoa as Aquaman? So I still enjoyed watching the film, but I think this one is going to deliver more of a punch on the emotional side of things as well. We're going to get way more Superman in this, I hope, as well as some of the other characters from the DCEU. So that's what I'm going to look for. Some epic team-up battle scenes. I want to see the Justice League really kind of, for a little bit, get their butt handed to them by Darkseid. You don't just put in Darkseid to not have him wreak havoc, So those are a couple of things that I'm going to look for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think my biggest problem with the theatrical cut was that it just felt like Frankenstein. Like it really felt like, and I don't mean the movie Frankenstein, I mean the actual character, because it just felt like all these different parts that didn't really belong together. And listen, I love Zack Snyder. I actually think Watchmen is a masterpiece. I think it's really, I always put it on my top 10 superhero movies of all time. I think it's super underrated. And, he has a specific vision as a director. So my concern is the same fans that, were demanding release the Snyder Cut are the same fans that were upset that Superman broke buildings in Man of Steel. They're the same fans that said, oh, we didn't like the Martha thing in Batman v Superman. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's all Snyder. So again, I go back to my original, be careful what you wish for. I just really hope that after we've gone through all this and Zack delivers this to the fans that, they're happy with it. I mean, it is going to be Zack's, I think it's going to be a very dark vision. That was always his vision for the DC EU. And I don't see any reason, if anything, I think this is going to be darker. If you thought Batman vs Superman was too dark, I mean, wait for the Justice League cut,
Yeah. But I mean, you got Darkseid in it. So, I mean, going dark, I never really had a problem with him going too dark, but that's just also personal preference. You know what I mean? My taste is going to differ from the next person who watches the film. So you're right. I hope that the fans overall will get to enjoy this 4-hour event for Justice League. And I can't wait to see who's going to show up in the movie, what we're getting, all the scenes, the music is going to be fantastic.
I'm really excited that Darkseid is going to be in that flashback to, because I believe that that's what Zack said, is that in the beginning when we see the flashback to Steppenwolf stealing the box from the Amazons and that big fight, and there's Green Lanterns and there's Zeus and Hercules and all those. That's actually was always intended to be Darkseid. So I think that's going to be the biggest Darkseid scene, is that digitally take Steppenwolf out and put in Darkseid. So that and the fact that Steppenwolf will look a little bit more badass, and Desaad is in there as well. And so for fans of the Superpowers Super Friends show from the 80s, I think you're going to get sort of a live action dark Zack Snyder version of that. So
yeah, for sure.
So that is March 18th And I know you and I will be in front of our TVs with HBO Max on that day.
Popcorn ready.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably, if it's released at midnight the night before, I'll stay up. And well, that's 4 hours.
Oh,
that's
wait a minute.
As I was saying that, I was like, I don't know if I'll do that. But one show that I do stay up on Thursday nights at midnight to see so that I don't accidentally get spoiled by a Facebook post Friday morning is WandaVision. Have you been watching WandaVision, Wendy?
I am currently obsessed with WandaVision. I love it so much. I am that person who will wait up until midnight. Yeah. You know, when the clock strikes midnight, Disney Plus is prepped, ready to go, and I press play and I sit there and I ask too many questions, and then I gasp and I wow, and then I scream at my TV when it's over.
Yes. I don't know that I do a lot of screaming at the TV. That might be unique to you, but I definitely, what's going on here? So obviously this week, episode 4 dropped, which was a big sort of game changer for what the series has been setting up so far. But before we kind of get into that, what were your impressions of the series, the first 3 episodes, before we sort of had this game changer?
Oh, I loved it from the get-go. I thought that, okay, so when Disney had announced all the Marvel shows, initially I looked at WandaVision and I thought, that's really interesting. I'm not really sure how into it I'm going to be with WandaVision. And I was really looking at, Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki to be my top 2 favorite. And then there was the Super Bowl teaser where I think each of the show got a 10-second spot or something like that. And I fell in love with WandaVision right there and then. I thought it was going to be strange. It was going to be awesome. It was going to be wacky. And it was something that I didn't know I needed. Now that we are at let's talk about episode 1 through 3 for a second. Now that we, know that this is kind of everything that's within, we believe to be Wanda's reality, it really, for me, this is kind of like an extended look for me at the MCU. Some of the stories I didn't get to see, post Endgame. So this is really, really great. And to also see these 2 actors getting to stretch their acting muscles a little bit, because, during Endgame and everything, it's kind of, there's funny jokes and one-liners, but it's kind of serious because they're literally trying to save the world. They're trying to defeat Thanos, and people are getting snapped, and there's, heartbreaks, there's loss, as we saw what happened with Vision. So I'm thinking, what are they going to do with the show? And I love that episodes 1 through 3, they embrace the 50s and 60s and 70s sitcom. And I love that that's how they introduce the show, via those sitcoms. And maybe it's because Wanda grew up watching those shows. So in her mind, that's her perfect home, perfect world. And she is kind of inserting herself and Vision and the neighborhood in said era. And as we kind of move progressively forward, closer and closer to present time is what it seems like. But it's just so different than anything that I had imagined. So right off the bat, even episode 1, I know some people said that it was a little slow, but I was so amused by the way they were doing this and how funny it really was.
Yeah, absolutely. You have so many points that I'd like to remark on. I totally agree. As far as that comment, the complaint about the first few episodes, I did feel like the first episode, which was sort of a 50s I Love Lucy-ish, maybe a little Dick Van Dyke Show in there. And then the 60s, which seemed more Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie. They seemed too similar to me. Yeah, they were. It was like it. But I think it was good that they released both of those on the first day. So it was almost like 1 hour episode of the first thing. It dragged a little bit in episode 2 for me, but once we got to 3, we get into sort of the Brady Bunch, that girl kind of 70s vibe. And as sort of things, I think, started, little clues started to be dropped here and there. I completely agree. I don't think I realized how short-changed Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany had been as actors in the previous appearances. They're great, but I just don't think that they had a lot of room to really grow in these characters and do something more challenging. Elizabeth Olsen is so amazing in those first few episodes as you know, the I Love Lucy, as the Mary Tyler Moore, like, and Bettany too, and the comedic timing that they have together and apart. And, you know, it's kind of a really interesting acting challenge for them if you think about it, because not only are they expanding on these superhero characters that they've been playing for years, but then they're also, in a sense, almost playing different characters with who they are in these sitcom situations. So that's been very impressive. Knowing the comic book folklore, knowing Scarlet Witch and House of M and some other things that comic book fans know about, I kind of understood how this sort of thing could be happening, like where they're kind of going with this. And episode 4 started to make me think, oh, okay, they are going kind of in the general direction that I thought they were. So I've really enjoyed the show, but I am glad that it's moving forward now. You know what I mean? Like 1 and 2, that was fine. And now we're sort of moving at a little bit of a clip. So episode 4 this past week was the first episode to not really be part of the show's format. It doesn't take place in, I should say, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched episode 4 of WandaVision yet, go watch it and then come back. But episode 4 is the first episode that really shows us the real world as opposed to whatever reality bending world that the characters are on. So how did you feel, Wendy, about sort of the flip in the show's format with episode 4?
It's exactly what I wanted. At the end of episode 3, when we find out, when Wanda became suspicious of Geraldine, who we obviously know as Monica Rambeau, I kind of went, oh, wait, there's a little bit of that reality check for Wanda where, how do you know about Ultron? She's talking about her brother, and kind of that moment of a snap, like, who are you? What's that thing around your neck? And I was like, oh, she's cracking. Everything is cracking. And then the classic, and it's like one of my favorite moments in the show in episode 3 is, she just is standing over her babies, her newborn babies, and Vision comes in and he's like, well, where's Geraldine? And just that almost creepy, almost little like Rosemary's Baby, sort of like, oh, she had to go home. It's like, but where did you put her? And where that episode ended, I turned it because I watched the show with my husband, and I said, next week I want them to start with what happened with Monica as she got bamfed out. Like, I need to see what happens there instead of going back into quote unquote WandaVision and into another like sitcom era. I need to know what's happening, and I need to bring everything up to date. I want to see what what has been happening in the real world while things are happening simultaneously in WandaVision. So we got that exactly in episode 4. What I did not expect, though, was Monica coming back from the blip. I didn't even know that I needed something like that until I saw it. So I'm really, really glad that because that's how they started the show. I was confused for about a second. I was like, wait, what? Oh, we're seeing this happen. And then boom, heartbreak, coming to the realization that she's was gone for 5 years when she felt like she took a 20-minute nap. The realization hitting her of that her mom is no longer around, that she never got a closure to say goodbye, and to kind of, coming from the trauma of that, being blipped out, blipped back in, what's happening, losing her mom, and trying to kind of go back to normalcy, to trying to go walk back into Sword and go back to her everyday life prior to all of this. So that's a lot for Monica to swallow. And then first day back on the job, what happens? She gets sucked into WandaVision. I was like, girl needs a vacation.
It's so funny that you say that, because the opening moments, I was so confused. And it's like, why am I confused? I know what the blip is. I watched Endgame like 100 times. I know that, but the way they shot it and seeing her sort of reassemble, I didn't know. I actually rewound it for a second to be like, wait, what? And I heard Brie Larson's voice. We heard Captain Brie Larson made an audio cameo in episode 4, because we hear her lines from Captain Marvel going through her head. So the blip stuff, I thought that was really cool. I never really imagined. I didn't know where in the MCU timeline WandaVision was going to take place. So it never even dawned on me that it might take place right after the blip. And essentially now sets itself before the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. So, because they say it's just 3 weeks after the return that then she goes. Let's also talk about the return of Jimmy Woo.
Yes,
and
Darcy Lewis,
and Dr. Darcy now, exactly. I thought she had a really fun scene in the truck with the other specialists that they were bringing in. What did you think about sort of her return and a nice kind of chemistry between her and Jimmy?
Yeah, I loved it all. And I think a lot of people were speculating that Darcy would be in this. I don't know where they got the info from, but they are definitely right that she is 100%. And then it makes sense because, you know, her specialty is astrophysics. So it makes sense for her to be brought into as a consultant, if you will, to kind of investigate what is going on in Westview. And her out of, I think, like Jimmy Woo have maybe seen some of the stuff, you know, because of his interaction with Ant-Man, but she's, because of the movies with Thor, like she's seeing some stuff. So I think nothing would really scare her off too much. I think she'd be fascinated and more curious about it rather than like, oh my gosh, I need to leave. I can't do this. So combined with, you know, her expertise and the FBI and Jimmy Woo, I think they're already starting to kind of pinpoint and see, you know, who are the residents of Westview? Why are the people outside of Westview, outside of this bubble, saying that the town doesn't exist? What is happening? And then having, you know, the little chemistry of Jimmy and Darcy watching WandaVision together and, you know, kind of talking about like, hey, you want kids? You want, you know, sharing potato chips? It's really cute. So I like that these, you know, little relationships are, I'm not shipping them together. I mean, I do ship them, but at the same time, I'm not saying they're together. I'm just saying that I like that WandaVision is really, really different because the MCU, from what we've known so far, it's comic book movies. So it's, you know, fight, punch, also like CGI battles and this and that. WandaVision really takes a very different approach. And I think we are going to get some of those battles, some of those, you know, fight sequences, but they need to set it up first. I know some people, they're still kind of like, I don't know about WandaVision. And like, show's not for everybody, but I was in before I even saw the show. I was in when I saw that Super Bowl teaser. I was like, something different from Marvel. Great, fantastic. And I felt like with watching the Avengers movies, they really underplayed Wanda's powers. Like if you are familiar with the comic books, she's way more powerful than how they portrayed her in the films. I'm like, why are they holding her back? Like she could single-handedly take this on. Like I know she can, but you know, they held her back. And I was like, oh, because it's an ensemble movie, maybe that's the reasoning. And I think this show is really going to showcase a lot of that. So for the fans of like House of M, I think they're going to be pretty happy with the show.
They give a little tease in the end of Endgame when she attacks Thanos. And then he says, rain fire. And so so you get a little hint that, oh, there's more to Scarlet Witch. And I'll be curious to see like what, you know, how they explain it. Like, did being blipped away cause her powers to be more powerful when she came back? Like,
interesting.
All sorts of explanations, you know, Marvel can figure out something. So yeah, that's cool. Did you happen to notice that there was a Fantastic Four reference in episode 4? So the radiation that Darcy discovers, that she discovers the wavelength of the TV show in that radiation. I can't remember exactly what that radiation was called, but it was a specific name that's from the comic books. Mm-hmm. That's the radiation that caused the Fantastic Four to change. And then the head of S.W.O.R.D., her new boss, Monica's new boss, mentions that when the blip happened, he says something about, I've still got astronauts in space and I don't know where they are. Get it?
Oh, wait.
That doesn't mean anything. That could mean nothing. And I'm just reading in with my knowledge of geekdom. But I got to imagine that was put in there for some reason.
And that's kind of why I really like this show, is really showing us that I almost said the DCU because my mind is still a little bit on the Snyder Cut as we talked about as our first topic. But with the MCU, this show is going to give us all the bridges to all the other, you know, characters and stories that have not gotten the spotlight yet. Because also with Fantastic Four, Disney couldn't have done anything with it due to, you know, it was a Fox property. So now that we've had the merger, it's definitely a possibility. And I love that. I definitely didn't pick that up. That's amazing. You blew my mind. Wow.
I think to your point, I mean, it's what Marvel's done with the MCU is really create a rich canvas, right? But there's only so much time theatrically to be able to explore a lot of this really rich mythology that they've taken from the comics, but then created for the screen. So having this opportunity with the Disney Plus shows, which at first to me seemed a little bit like, you know, kind of let's get as much out of this as we can, you know what I mean? Now I realize, well, it's more about them having the opportunity not to wring as much money out of the franchise as they can, although that's obviously a goal as well. But it really gives the actors, the filmmakers, and the producers and the writers an opportunity to delve deeper into the world. And I mean, I think it's something they kind of tried to do early on with the Marvel one-shots that appeared on DVDs and Blu-rays with films. Some of them were very good, and some of them were just waste of time. And so maybe that was sort of like, you know, a way they kind of figured out, like, what stories do we really need to, and there's so much in the WandaVision with these characters and the other characters that they're bringing in, that there's a lot. So what other ones you're really excited for? Loki, did you say?
Oh, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The teasers, the promos have been just top notch. And, you know, I've been a fan of the MCU for a long time. So, and I like the chemistry between Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. I said Stan, no D at the end. I enjoy kind of the quippy exchanges back and forth. I want to see, you know, with Falcon, both of them actually very unique fighting styles. So I like to see, like, that's like one of my favorite things about Falcon is that, like, you know, he flies and you can say, yeah, you know, Thor can do that and Iron Man can do that and War Machine can do that, but it's slightly different. I feel like with Falcon, he's got a little bit more of a finesse. Maybe because like the wings, you know, makes him look a little bit more like he's able to glide a little bit more beautifully or something like that. But I feel like it's going to be, even though it's a TV show, it's going to be on a cinematic level. So I can't wait. And then Loki, the promo for that, it's just, what? It's kind of like a WandaVision where I was like, oh, this is where we may be going with it. I don't know yet. I haven't, like, I'm looking forward to it, but the teaser threw me off. I didn't think that's what we were going to get. And, but I like that we're going to get some of these questions answered. Like, where did Loki go after he picked up the Tesseract?
I think that yeah, I'm right with you. I was sort of like, oh, Loki series. Okay, I mean, I love Loki, but it's like, okay, what are you gonna do with this? And then I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, this is a whole new world. This is a whole new thing. Falcon. I'm also excited for Falcon Winter Soldier, but that seems more to me like gonna be classic Marvel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sort of like classic MCU, where Loki and WandaVision give you an opportunity to stretch out and do some different things a little bit. I'm imagining Hawkeye is going to be pretty straightforward as well. Sort of a passing of the mantle show. I wouldn't be surprised if Miss Marvel and She-Hulk are similar. Moon Knight, they might be able to sort of start with something new. Is there any Marvel character that hasn't been introduced yet that maybe was introduced, you know, in the Netflix stuff or something, you know, in some outside thing that you would really, or even a smaller character within the MCU that you'd really love to see do a series with?
I mean, and I don't know if this could happen because technically she's under the Sony label in a way because of Spider-Man, but I would love a Spider-Gwen TV series, or if it's animated series, you know, kind of via the style of Spider-Man Far From Home. Like, that would be great because I just don't think we have enough Spider-Gwen in the media at all. And when I saw her in Spider-Man Far From Home, I was like, yes, more of this, please. So would love more Miles and would love more Spider-Gwen if that can happen. And then if not, I mean, I honestly, the next thing for Marvel that I'm looking forward to is see how they're going to bring the X-Men into the MCU. That's what I'm very curious about. And like, you know, what stories are they going to tell? Are they giving us a TV series as opposed to a movie? They'll probably give us both. You know, but how are they going to be introduced, when, and also who?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just chime in on what you were saying about Gwen Stacy or Spider-Gwen. I'd love to see Jessica Drew, see Spider-Woman.
Ooh.
And again, I also don't know if Marvel owns the rights or Sony, or they'd have
that's
to
a Sony thing.
Exactly. But I know at one point Jessica Drew became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, like, you could do a series where she's not Spider-Woman necessarily. But again, I'm not quite sure how the rights work on that. If Marvel can use Jessica Drew without using her as Spider-Woman, I'm not quite sure.
Oh, that's true.
And it might be possible, but I don't know. It's always tricky. Well, so we're very excited about WandaVision and encourage everyone to catch up. See episode 4 if you haven't, and we're very much looking forward to the next episode this week.
Real quick before we move on to the next topic here, do you think we'll call him quote unquote Zombie Vision for now? You think we'll see a little bit more of that, or you think that was a one-time deal?
I have a theory, which I won't go into because I think it's a little spoilery. But if it's correct, I think we're going to see a lot more of I tend to think that she reanimated his corpse.
Yeah, I've been reading theories about that.
Because they reveal that everyone else in there is a real person playing a character, not someone that she, made appear. Do you know what I mean? That her powers are making that happen. So I wouldn't know how like her powers are making Vision reappear unless she had something to work
to reanimate his. I mean,
yeah.
That's a bit macabre, if you will.
It is.
Yeah, but it fits the show.
Do you think that, like, when she saw that image, that was more like the audience seeing what's in her mind as opposed to like that was really there? Or what did you think that the filmmakers were trying to express to us?
I think it's that because she was under a bit of stress at having to, in a small way, confront the actual reality, at the mention of Ultron. So her composure cracked a little bit. So her power, if this is all her doing, as Monica said, it's all Wanda. So she, lost her grip on her reality for a second, and she is kind of forced to look up, and she wasn't prepared, and that to confront that. Yeah. So he died. So I think it's more of that and less of her reanimating her body. But of course, that is just my theory. So I could totally be incorrect.
What was in her head
that she already knew.
To what was really there. Yeah.
Like she already knew that he's dead. So it's kind of that spark of like the reality, the truth. Like, Wanda, this is for real. He's actually not here. This is what the last vision that you had of Vision is that. And I think that's what reflected to what she saw, because she wasn't composed and she was thrown off by what Monica had said, and also using her powers in such a way to bamf her out of her bubble. So I think that's my theory, but we'll see, because I who knows if she's actually reanimating his body. Yeah, we don't know. Possible. We will see, and we will find out more about Agnes as well, who doesn't, technically have like a driver's license on the board of all the residences. Everybody had like an actual identity, but Agatha Harkness, aka Agnes, didn't have one. So we'll see if we get to learn more about her.
What I was going to ask you before moving on, do you buy into the Agnes is Agatha Harkness theory?
I might be reading too much into it, but like Agatha Harkness, Agnes. And she's got there's a brooch that she wears. And if you look at the comic book version of Agatha Harkness, it's a similar one. So that's kind of that was my hint for when I started to do a little bit of like research on who Agnes was, and then talking to my other nerdy friends, they're like, oh, we think it's Agatha Harkness. I was like, oh, who? And I was like, oh, okay, makes sense.
Yeah, and then in the upcoming Halloween episode, she's in a classic witch's costume. So
Exactly.
they could all be misleading us. You know, they
Of
could
course.
know. We know that
She
that's
could just be an Agnes.
Yeah, or you know, it's possible that she won't be revealed to be Agatha Harkness. She is an Agnes, but is still that same character essentially, and they changed the name. Who knows?
Interesting.
We will have to wait and see. So we've got a few more minutes here, and we wanted to hit a couple of things. Obviously, we all know that we are still in the throes of a pandemic, and the theatrical movie releases have been delayed. We're pretty much coming close to a full year now of delayed films, or at least the big releases in theaters. And I'm curious, you know, we obviously have had Black Widow. You know, we're coming up on almost a year that's been delayed. Eternals as well has been delayed quite some time. Obviously, we know that the MCU, you know, is very, you know, it's sort of like building blocks, right? One falls and the rest fall. So it's very woven together, as is DCU and some of these other franchises as well, Godzilla vs. Kong and stuff. And so I'm just curious, Wendy, what do you think about sort of the how these franchises will deal with the delays, how that might affect continuity, especially with MCU, with, you know, there's currently shooting a new Spider-Man and getting going on Doctor Strange and Thor 4, you know, and I think we've even heard that WandaVision was originally going to be second show after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I think that got delayed, and so things are kind of moving around. Where do you sort of see the effects happening with these franchises?
I mean, when you have franchises that's kind of like a DCEU, that's kind of like an MCU, that, you know, they have, the creators have a certain way they want to tell the story. They want to unveil certain characters and this and that. This definitely took all of the plans and went like this, because now they have to say, okay, how do we pivot and how do we do this? Because I think there are certain movies that can't come before another one, if that makes sense. For example, like, you know, it probably made more sense for them to do WandaVision, and then, you know, when they have Doctor Strange 2 coming out, then that'll kind of make sense for that lineup. So I just wonder how much more can they continue to push back? And that's, you know, goes for also all the other studios as well, because maybe some of the other movies don't have, you know, all this like interlocking stories, but it's still, they want to, you know, they have certain things scheduled for this. This is meant to be a summer blockbuster. This is meant to be a fall movie or Halloween spooky movie and a holiday movie. So all of that has to be shifted, which means everything else that they have, you know, on deck has to get pushed back even later. And I'm hearing, I don't remember where I read it, but I think that they were having to film, it was one of the spy movies. So it's either Mission Impossible or the James Bond film, but they had to reshoot certain little things here and there to upgrade the gadgets. Yeah. So it's kind of like, see, these things that you don't normally would have to think about, you now have to think about. And for, you know, films such as Black Widow, it's on a cinematic scale. It's meant to be a tentpole blockbuster MCU film. And now people are thinking, oh, are we going to get it on Disney Plus? You know, we're getting Raya and the Last Dragon on Disney Plus, and we got So on Disney Plus, and we got Mulan on Disney Plus. So, like, is that the route is going to go? And then, you know, same thing as Wonder Woman 1984, where everybody was looking forward to that theatrical release. We didn't get to have that with Wonder Woman because a lot of theaters and a lot of places are still closed. So it's just disappointing because I, as a theater like enthusiast, I love the movie theater experience. I love the concession and the, you know, just kind of sitting back and not just enjoying the story playing out in front of you, but also enjoying the little reactions that you hear around you and seeing which scenes in which moment affect other people. So I always enjoy kind of that audience busting out, you know, in laughter, in unison. It's one of the best parts, or cheering for that same moment. And you don't get that. Even though if you're comfortable at home, you don't ever have to get out of your stretchy pants You don't get to have that at home. It's really not the same. So I long to go back to the theaters. There's a lot of films that I don't want to see on my TV. Like, I don't want to see Dune on my TV. I want to see it, in the theater. I want to see Black Widow in theaters. So I'm holding out hope that maybe the spring stuff, because, it's still really early right now, that maybe we won't get a theatrical releases, but hopefully by summer, things will start slowly opening up, and maybe we just do one tiny mini shift back like 1 month, 30, 45 days, something like that. And then we can start, fingers crossed, going back to the theaters. What do you think?
I mean, I certainly, I actually have to say I'm good with watching these movies on my TV. I'm okay with not leaving during a pandemic, leaving my apartment. That being said, obviously, I want us all to go back to normal. You know what I mean? As everyone does. So I want the theaters to open up, and everyone can, get back to making movies and making money and all that stuff. The Bond thing is interesting because, Rolex pays a lot of money and to advertise essentially their watch in the movie. And if by the time this movie comes out, it's a 3-year-old watch, it doesn't really help them any. So that's, I think, sort of one of the product placement issues that they're having. As far as sort of like delays hurting the continuity, I think that it really would have screwed with the MCU if this happened 2 years ago, right?
Oh, yes.
Like, in the middle of Endgame, like, they would have had huge problems. And I think Feige's even said that recently. The fact that it sort of happened as phase 3 and the whole Infinity Stone saga was ending, I think in a weird way gave them a good launching point. And also the fact that Black Widow is essentially a prequel. So that helps because, there's some theories there might be a couple of time jumps in the movie. So maybe there's something more current, but the bulk of the movie we know is a prequel. So that I think they're okay. Eternals is a brand new thing. So that's kind of okay. I think where they would have any issues at all is since we know the new Spider-Man is going to deal with the multiverse is being dealt with Doctor Strange, and assuming that this is multiverse related in WandaVision. Those three connections, and the fact that I think Marvel doesn't have a lot of control. Like if Sony wants to start making Spider-Man, I don't think they can tell them, no, delay it a year because of this. So those could become issues, but otherwise I feel like Marvel sort of lucked into a sweet spot. DC EU, I think, is still finding its place and, what it wants to do with continuity or not continuity. So that's probably in a safer place. I mean, Suicide Squad is a reboot, or a soft reboot. So it's not, I don't think they're depending on connections as much. And
also to your point, Batman with Matt Reeves doesn't really connect to specifically any specific,
Absolutely.
story.
Absolutely.
So yeah, also very much looking like that's also a film that I need to see in the theaters.
And Fast and the Furious, I love the Fast and the Furious movies. I mean, they might be a bit of a guilty pleasure, but I really do love them. And I feel that even though the last one introduced Charlize as probably the big bad for the next few, if it's another 2 or 3 years until we see Han come back and all the things that we know are going to happen, I can wait for John Cena to be the new Toretto brother. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that even though there is a continuity there, I don't think the delays are going to hurt it much. So
not as much.
Here's a kind of, it's maybe be a little bit of moving pieces around, but I think, I think hopefully this doesn't go too much longer and we're in good shape.
I feel like in every single board meeting with the studios, they're talking about this every single day. So you got to keep an eye out for all that. Like, what's their release strategy? Do we keep pushing it back? Like, I'm just, and I understand the shift and they got to do what they need to do. And that's what's going to be best for, the company, because they put so much money into producing every single one of these films, and also how to deliver it to the fans in the best way possible, but also safely, because you don't want to say, it's only in theaters, but then theaters aren't open everywhere. So how are fans able to, to see it. So like I kind of ran into that with Tenet. Like Tenet was a film that I wanted to see in theaters, and there's no theaters around me at the time when Tenet came out was open. So I had to wait until it hit VOD, and then I got to purchase it, which worked out well because I got to put on the captions for the film.
So you actually knew what was happening.
That was recommended by many people that I talked to that were able to preview the film or had like driven out further out to see to a theater to see the film, and they're like, you might want to either turn up the sound really loud or use captions or both. So we did that, and I was like, I understand the film.
I like what HBO Max, for my own selfish reasons, I like what they're doing with the, day-and-day release on there. It's interesting. I think it's still going to take time to find out if that's working or not working for them. But as far as Disney Plus goes, as much as I would love to see Black Widow, I feel like if they put it on Disney Plus, it's going to feel like they're dumping, a female-led, female-directed film, and I feel like it deserves more respect than that.
I feel I'm
concerned that it'll be considered like a Disney Plus movie as opposed to a big MCU theatrical movie, and that's what Black Widow and, quite frankly, Scarlett Johansson deserve. Yeah.
I honestly feel like Black Widow, and I really hope I'm wrong. No, I hope I'm right. Black Widow will not hit Disney Plus. That's in my heart. I feel that they're not gonna go that route. And kind of to your point, what you were making earlier is there's no continuity issue with Black Widow because we know already because of the Avengers movie, the final two. We know what happens with Black Widow. So placing her in whatever release time would be okay. It's just that you don't want to wait too long to tell her story. In my opinion, we should have gotten this movie a year ago. That's my opinion. But we're getting it regardless.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it had come out at the time that it's sort of set, right? Like if it had come out at the same time as the first Spider-Man and Black Panther, which really were follow-ups to Civil War. If this is a follow-up to Civil War, which it's kind of been rumored to be, it would have been nice. I agree with you. It's long overdue, but I'm willing to wait a little while longer for the theatrical release. We've got a couple of minutes left, Wendy, and we're going to kind of start this regular segment where we're going to talk about theme park news. And I know there's a little bit of theme park news, so in the last couple of minutes, take it away if there's anything we need to know.
Tiny bit of theme park news, and it really doesn't pertain to any sort of rides or opening soon or anything like that. If you're in Southern California, then you'll know that Disneyland and Universal Studios Hollywood are still shuttered due to the pandemic. However, Disney World on the Florida side, in Florida, in Orlando, Florida, is currently open, which means all the visitors get to go to Galaxy's Edge, and we get a sneak peek at Cal Kestis's lightsaber. This is a new legacy lightsaber that's going to be available at Doc Ondar's Den of Antiquities. And I'm really excited about this because I think it was fall last year in 2020 that Disney Parks blogs put up a kind of like a fan vote. You vote for what lightsaber you would want to see next to be able to purchase. And I was thinking, this is just like a fun little survey. I don't know if they would like would the winning lightsaber actually be made into something tangible for the fans to bring home. And I don't remember all the choices, but I think one of them was Qui-Gon, Cal, obviously, Ezra Bridger, and I cannot remember the other one. It may have been Kanan, I think, but I could be wrong about that, so I don't remember. But I took the survey and I voted. I don't remember if I voted Qui-Gon or Ezra, just because by the time that I voted, Cal was like so far ahead. I was like, well, I'll just give one of these other guys a little boost. Because honestly, if they eventually bring all four out, I'm going to still want all of them. So it doesn't matter what order they bring out. But this is from the very popular game, Jedi Fallen Order. So it makes sense that people wanted to get it. And just the way it looks, and just to have, not just something you've seen in movies, but something that you get to see a character that you get to play as in a Star Wars video game. You get to have this lightsaber. It is tangible in your hand. It's going to ignite blue. There's going to be an adapter available to make it a dual lightsaber, which is going to be one, probably a higher price tag because you have to buy 2 blades unless you already have the blade, if you had pre-purchased that from one of your visits to Galaxy's Edge. But it's just going to be really cool. I like that certain lightsabers that they're bringing out, whether it's a custom build one that you can do at Galaxy's Edge or one of these legacy ones, that they have certain abilities like the Darth Maul lightsaber, they interconnect and things like that. The Ahsoka Tano one, the Clone Wars ones, they change colors from green to blue, which is really cool. I personally have the Ahsoka Fulcrum ones. That was the first thing I ran to do on my first day at Galaxy's Edge. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a blue milk? Are you going to have a green milk? I was like, I'm buying the Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum lightsabers, and I have them proudly displayed. So there's a little bit of theme park news for you if you are happen to be able to go to Walt Disney World and you have that ability and you are a fan of Jedi Fallen Order. If you're a fan of Cal Kestis and you want to grab his lightsaber, then you can have a chance at it coming this fall. They didn't give a specific date. They just said coming soon, 2021 fall. So we will see. I'm sure there's going to be there are already photos being teased all over the internet for this, but it looks fantastic.
Awesome. This actually, where you're talking about that, I grabbed mine from when I was there. This is, I believe it's the Luke Skywalker base, but then the Yoda blade.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
I believe if I remember correctly. So
I should have grabbed mine before we started the show next week.
Next time we will have a virtual duel, virtual battle. Yeah, exactly. Well, that is all the time we have this week, Wendy. It flew by.
I know.
Couple of announcements. The 4th annual HCA Film Awards nominations will come out tomorrow, beginning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. And Wendy, I think you have a few announcements as well.
Yes, so this is just one of the shows that the HCA network is going to be launching this year. So make sure before you go anywhere, you hit that subscribe button so you can come on back to this YouTube channel. And of course, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos that are coming to the show. So we also have another show that is launching this week. It is the Trending in Hollywood podcast, and that's launching this Friday at 11 a.m., hosted by, of course, the one and only Scott Menzel. And I think the following week, which is the week of February 8th. We have 2 more shows launching. We have the horrific, okay, I'm not going to be able to say that word. Horrifically Horrifying will be launching on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. and it's going to be hosted by Heather Wixon, and Kevin Taft. And of course, What to Stream launches on Thursdays at 11 a.m. and that will be hosted by Morgan Rojas. So make sure you are coming back. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you've been liking the conversation Jami and I have been having about all things geeky, all things including in fandom. And all of our shows are weekly, so make sure you are tuned in every single week. And it looks like they're all at 11 a.m., so you don't even have to remember the time. It's 11 a.m.
Awesome. 11 a.m. next week, Monday. We'll see you back here, talk some more fandom stuff, some more geek stuff on the Pop Council podcast. Thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next time.